I have more news to share with everyone. I believe that this group of words I'm not going to use that are running this system right now are just trying to they're just trying to completely destroy everything. I mean, it's just more obvious than everything than ever. I mean, you see that they are just literally trying to keep everything out of stock. They're trying to raise inflation at a time when it does not need to be done. They are raising the cost of living without rising the income properly. They are causing prices of food, gasoline, diesel fuel, electricity, basic necessities to go skyrocketing. And they claim that we're signing this green energy deal whether you like it or not. They're signing this bill quicker than anyone can transition. You know what's going to happen? They said, heck yeah, that's all I can ever say is there's going to be something bad. But heck yeah, there's going to be power outages. But they said it's worth the cost of saving our planet. People, there's people that depend on oxygen. There's people that depend on the grid for their medical needs. Now, it's listed again today that a major swath of the country is going to be in danger of summer rolling blackouts during the worst of the worst heat and during the coldest of the cold in the winter. They're going to shut your electricity off due to Biden's green energy transition. 2/3 of this country now face the prospect of blackouts this summer. Those areas listed right there, the ones in red are in high risk, and in orange are in elevated risk. And they say that goes for the U.S. and across Canada. They said basically because they're trying to get us off of what they call fossil fuels. They're trying to get us off of these carbon emissions. They claim it's killing the planet. And yet, if you look at, they said we need electric vehicles. Funny, Elon has been pioneering electric vehicles for many years. Now they're putting out a documentary about his vehicles being like almost like a death sentence or untrustworthy. And they're putting out statements about Elon Musk that he is a horrible individual. You don't want to trust him when he suddenly turned away from them. He's no longer on their side, so they call him pure evil. So it goes to show that it's not about the climate. It's not about saving lives. It's not about any of that, and we know that. And I hate even talking about this because they're going to flag and ban and shadow ban and remove me as they do so often. But it gets really old. And when you see someone like Elon Musk, who's making electric vehicles and charging stations and pioneering the electric vehicle game, which I'm not a fan of the self-driving vehicles in a way in some aspects. I mean, I feel you should be able to take over if needed because it could be hacked and there's a dangerous situation at play there. But Elon seemed like he was doing the very thing that they wanted. He's working on the brain chips. He's working on things to help with various medical conditions. But I guess if you help and heal medical conditions, then the pharmaceutical industry, big pharma, and the medical industry won't be making lots of money off of their victims. I mean patients. Here are more shots. Here are more pills. Here are more medicines. Here are more medical treatments. Here are more tests. They won't be making money. So I guess that's why they didn't like his idea, his inventions. But Gates, he's perfectly fine, right? Meanwhile, Gates is genetically modifying mosquitoes where they will not repopulate or reproduce, and genetically modifying their genes where they will not be able to reproduce, which you'd think that sounds great. No more mosquito bites, right? Well, then suddenly you see next year that there's no mosquito larvae for the birds and the fish to eat. So then we suddenly lose our plant population and our fish population by 80% or so, a large percent. Because the fish depend on, and so do the frogs. The frogs eat the mosquitoes, and the fish depend on the frog larvae, the frog eggs, and the fish depend upon the mosquito eggs and larvae. It's an ecosystem, and they're ruining it. Everything they've signed into place this past couple of years has just been disastrous. I mean, it's insane. And then they open the floodgates. Let's open the borders up and let I see so many people, and you know what's really making me frustrated? We're struggling. We are sitting here struggling to pay bills, make payments on things we're trying to pay off, and can't afford to fix things with our vehicle or house. And they're suddenly giving affordable housing, health care. When we went to the emergency room, people from across the border were just lined up in the emergency room, and they took them right in, no questions asked. What the heck? That's the way it was during Bush. And you can't get the care you need because you're waiting hours for people who are undocumented to come in. When I literally had to sign my life away and give all kinds of documentation just to prove that I'm a human, just to prove I'm a person. For Google, for the tax purposes, for the tax forms, for just something simple. To get my social security card, to get my birth certificate copy. I had to get my identification. I had to do all that. And just to get medicine, certain types of medicine from the doctor's office, I have to show my ID. Do they? No. It's unfair. It is ridiculous. My cousin, she almost got run over and killed by an undocumented person. Yes, mind you, it could have been anyone. There are Americans, there are people here in America that go undocumented, that drive without a license and have a vehicle that's not registered in their name and steal a vehicle. Yes, anyone can do that. But the point is, they didn't throw the book at them, they let them go. They just let them go. And now, when we were in town today, I'm seeing vans and SUVs of foreigners that came from somewhere else. Brand new vehicles. There's where our used vehicles are going and our brand new vehicles are going. And that's why the price of used vehicles that are left over are so high. And on top of that, they suddenly put a ban on imports from China, and then suddenly now, then the prices of our vehicles go extremely higher than they have to be on top of that because of the imports of those chips. It was all unnecessary. Then you see Russia suddenly attack with no consequence. We can't mess with it because of NATO and all of this. And now that causes our food prices and food shortages to go up. It's been one disaster after another. And now they're claiming, and if this was all about the grid, it really frustrates me. If this was all about saving the planet, saving the people, yet they talk about depopulation all the time, but yet they talk about saving the people. If this was all about cleaning the air, then they wouldn't have suddenly stopped emissions testing in our area to make the atmosphere worse. So they could blame climate change on it. They wouldn't have done that. They want to do anything they can to make it look worse so they can put more regulations in place. Many places banning leaf blowers, banning electric lawnmowers. What are we going to do? We haven't even paid our lawnmower off yet. If they ban electric lawnmower, ban gasoline lawnmowers and leaf blowers, what are we going to do? And weed eaters, they said they're too loud, they're too noisy, noise pollution, gas pollution, CO2, carbon emissions. No wood stoves, no fires, they said, in several states. That was going on during, 2 administrations ago. And then he this time almost starts a war with China by going, yes, we're going to defend. And then they said, no, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say we'll defend Taiwan. They're just going to let them take them over. It's a complete disaster. and I'm tired of looking at it. I mean, the Lord's got to do something about this. I'm sure some hero guy will come in, and he'll be probably the one that claims to be the good guy, and he's bad, I'm sure. When things are at their worst, that's probably when the so-called hero comes in. But they talked about temperatures breaking records and climate change. Well, and the earliest hurricane ever on record is happening now. If it was really about protecting the people and the climate, they would have listened to Elon Musk. If it was really about the tech innovation, then they would have listened to Elon Musk's chip plans that he had, and his microprocessors, and his Neuralink that he was working for medical and brain conditions. Not that I'm really on board with all of that, but I mean, if it was really all about that, about helping people, then they would have done that. They would have gone with his. But no, they want someone else's that's on their side. When he suddenly shifts, then he's suddenly the enemy. He suddenly shifts opinions, and he is the enemy. They turned on him. But if he was on their side, everything would be swept under the rug, and he'd be like the grand poobah. He'd be like, he was on Time magazine the year before, but then when he started getting on the side, they didn't want we wish we'd never put him on Time magazine. We need to take him back off of there, take the records offline. And now they're trying to cause another crisis by switching over the grid quicker than we can transition. If you start trying to make people depend on, and they shut down multiple coal plants, they shut down multiple gasoline and oil plants, they have shut down the production of gas, oil, and coal in many places all of a sudden, all at once, for a transition that hasn't even taken place yet. You can't just shut off those factories, shut off those facilities that produce our current form of energy. You can't just shut it off and say, we've got to shut it down before we have the other made. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It causes blackouts, rolling blackouts. It causes a major sudden halt in the grid. Now we're going to see not only surges, but blackouts over this. And it seems they're doing it on purpose, all of this on purpose. I'm tired of it. Now they say a good portion of the country is told they should expect rolling blackouts regularly as the nation enters these hot summer months. We never had that before under Mr. T. We never had it before ever. The North American Electrical Reliability Corporation said that its summer reporting two-thirds of this nation should prepare for a possible blackout. Almost two-thirds of America should prepare for a blackout. And they've been telling us this for about a year now, saying, prepare for a blackout, prepare for a blackout. The reason is a mandated transition to clean energy. Welcome to the green energy transition. We've been warning for years that climate policies would make the grid more vulnerable to vacillations in supply and demand. Here we go again. They said, here we are. Some of the mainstream press are belated catching on the blackouts are coming. That blackouts are coming. But they still don't grasp the real problem. The forced transition to green energy is distorting energy markets and destabilizing the grid. One of the chief proponents of forcing the transition to clean energy has been Richard Glick, the chairman of the Federal Energy Regulation Commission. In February, he and other Democrat commissioners at the FERC tried to force through a policy that would have made building new natural gas pipelines and infrastructure almost impossible. Thankfully, the new leadership of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee blasted the move. Senator Joe Manchin and John Barrasso made it clear they wouldn't stand for it, so they pulled back the new rule for now. His renomination is clear to be present danger to the U.S. electrical supply. The war in Ukraine and surging energy prices haven't deterred Democrats from their anti-fossil fuels campaign. So, will the widespread power outages make them go against their own anti-fossil fuels or oil and gasoline rhetoric? This current so-called administration's policies are resulting in a hot, dark summer for millions of Americans. With the summer heat just getting started, there's no relief in sight. So if they go ahead and sign this bill and claim clean energy everywhere, if they mandate it, we'll have rolling blackouts everywhere. I mean, they just don't. It's just at a time when gas prices are already high, they literally said, well, this is one way to make Americans switch toward another form of energy and electric cars. This is just blackmail, treason, really. And this is just completely wrong. Completely wrong. Another thing is certain types of people I see, they just get catered to. You got to walk around. You got to just be everyone out there except for those struggling. Those who are sitting here struggling, they won't give you the time of day, and it's just upsetting. You all know. And they focus on this particular month, like, oh, you've got to just you're just, oh man, no matter what you feel, and yet people who are struggling, whether it be from mental conditions or depression, anxiety, they pretty much are just like, suck it up and move on and do what you have to do. But yet, people can literally act insane and they're praised. It's just a topsy-turvy, twisted, messed up, crazy world. It really is. All right. I'm finished talking for a little while. I just had to give my 2 cents. It's annoying me. Another thing I've seen is fancy vehicles being given to those that have been brought across the border. Extremely fancy cars, SUVs, vans. They're bringing vans of them. Vans of people over here by the droves when we can't even afford to take care of our own citizens that are already here. They're going to give them, and then they're wanting to build affordable housing everywhere, as they call it, but live in little tiny huts. But they're talking about bringing these other people over here and bring them in here when we can't even afford our own way of life as it is. It makes no sense. And if you have something to say about it, like, oh, then I should just shut up, well, guess what? That's your right. That is your right as an American supposed to be. It's called freedom of speech, freedom of expression under the Constitution. But I don't agree with you. But it's just, you see everyone else being given everything. Transportation, food, shelter, nourishment. They have like these families and families of people and children, and I've seen bunches of them in 10 or 12 SUVs and vans and fancy black SUVs, and they're just given everything. And meanwhile, we struggle to get by. It's pathetic. It's awful. All right. Anyway, much love. I will talk another time. Gone to heck in a handbag, I'll tell you.